AKAPADers, Peter A DeLuca here, AKAPAD69. Stay with me, known throughout Philadelphia, PA, Europe, and the vast multiverse as your eclectic one. People, we have a YouTube algorithm that is trying to smash down this channel. Your help, your friends' help, your classmates' help, your cat's help, all of that help can take us to the moon. And we just want to get to the moon. We want to get to the Sea of Tranquilities, so to speak. But guys, a like, a thank you, a comment. If I'm crazy, let me know that too. If you think I'm drunk, let me know that in the comments. Chris Claremont, disappointing. Everything he's written post X-Men #1, absolutely disappointing. We are getting to the drawing table right away. And then I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a brief breakdown synopsis of what brought us to Sovereign 7. Let's go. Here it is, AKAPAD. We're getting right into it. Sovereign 7, DC Comics, July 1995. This is Chris Claremont's most significant books, most significant attempt outside of his original Uncanny X-Men run. In first reading, it's hard to define this as a New Gods book. But this book, it opens with a boom tube. Spoiler alert, we get into the female Furies towards the back. This book is, I view, Dwayne Turner, his attempt here, one amazing achievement. If you didn't know his name at this time, if you were new to him, and if you were picking this up and you were into the Image comic book titles, right? Dwayne Turner and his work fit. They fit the timeline. Chris Claremont coming off of previously. So let's just build into where Chris Claremont was career-wise at the beginning of this, because if you bought this off the shelf, I want to show you why you bought this book. So, Mommy and Daddy, I love Chris Claremont. What does Mommy and Daddy bring you home from the comic shop? Well, for 20 years, they were bringing you home some sweet-ass X-Men. These are the only 2 volumes of Essential X-Men. I don't have Volume 2. These are the only 2 that I have. Outside of Volume 2, these are the only 2 I feel anyone needs to own. But Claremont, he ran the gauntlet on the American comic book title, unlike any other writer. Now, comparatively speaking, at this time, we had long runs on Fantastic Four with Stan Lee, Tomb of Dracula. So, those were 10+ year runs, but Claremont did 20. And he ushers in one after the other of the very best American comic book art talent. Here, volume 10 is significant because we have Jim Lee. Right? So all of that cascades into X-Men adjective list, by the way. We're not Uncanny X-Men. X-Men #1 by the metrics, this is the greatest selling comic book of all time, blah, 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 blah. You guys know on this channel, we do not support that idea. We just don't. But here it is, greatest selling comic book of all time. So he leaves. He leaves with some confidence, because he goes into novels. He wants to write books, and he writes, pilots, girl pirate. I almost said pirates, girl pilots, by the writer of Marvel Comics, the X-Men. See, this was enough to sell the book. There's 3 of these. I have 2. He also does a fantasy novel series. And getting into they're nice reads. They're nice. It's nice commercial science fiction. That's my best description for this. Page to page wise, chapter to chapter wise. It's when it comes to commercial sci-fi, it's not close to someone like Michael Crichton. Now, given we're slightly different styles and genres of sci-fi, but even, you know, some of the greats, this doesn't measure up to the greats. So the Image comic book era comes, and Chris Claremont, you know, he writes Huntsman, appears in 3 issues of Cyberforce. He writes Huntsman. He appears in 4 issues of Wildcats. So you see this on the shelf, and you go all in. And let's just say you're a savvy reader. That means when you open this up, you see like the Image comic styled artwork, but you see the boom tube. And you just say to yourself, you're like, holy crap, like Chris Claremont is writing an in continuity DC comic book team that I never heard of that seems to involve the New Gods. Holy crap, Chris Claremont is going to write Darkseid. Holy crap. Now, we get a couple things here. We get a lot of problems. The superstar of this book is the colorist and the dedication, because it is dedicated to Jack Kirby. It's really the coloring, because Dwayne Turner doesn't pull the camera back enough. Okay, like Dwayne Turner, like if we use Crypt here, he's like this. He's like this. He's like, hey, I'm drawing, and in my face is this close to the page. This is what I'm drawing. He doesn't pull the camera away enough. Problem number 2 is Dwayne Turner doesn't rotate the camera enough. But he draws, and that's what you want from an artist at the point. So you stick with him, you stick with the book, you stick with the title, you hope that he grows as a storyteller. I love this splash page though, because see, it's the guy like holding the amulet. I don't know if you guys see, he's like holding it. But we open up with everyone crashing through Boom Tube. We have our guy here. These are his hands. Our boy has an amulet. And then these are like the hunters, gunners, sent out to get the amulet. This is Cascade. Not that you would know. Because, so here's the thing. We're doing a spread opening. We have to, the camera needs to go way away. And we need a little bit more of a landscape shot where we can clearly see that this is a boom tube. They're spilling out, and then as they're spilling out, we have to tag every single one of our team members. We just have to tag them. So how do we tag them? Well, here. You guys know what the trick is, right? See, tagging them would be, we have a caption here. And we have the name, code name, right? And then we have powers. Right here, code name. Powers. We set up the situation a little bit more clearly. Maybe we have spilling out of the boom tube is our heroes. We're missing fundamental storytelling traits here. A lot of these characters look the same. So we get in here, this girl's name is Cascade. And again, this is what we want. We kind of want someone like the close-up action that is distinctive of 90s comic book storytelling. We want to get some of the nice throws, like the nice poses. But yeah, everyone kind of, gets into it. But see, like Dwayne Turner, he gives us some nice profile shots. He gives us some nice poses. We all know who our heroes are and who their powers are yet. And we're already up to page 7. I really do like this pose, though. I don't know why. And he's got the giant Gatling gun. It makes no sense. Look, he's just blasting at this wall here. But we get the amulet. Again, we get these Jim Lee inspired shots here that just effing work. Here's our amulet right here. The coloring sings so well in this. Because even here, we get some good, see, look, these highlights here. light source here. Look, highlight, 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 highlight. Here, look, we're in a different field of color. Like, it's the coloring is so intelligent here. And then we go back to elsewhere. We don't even know where we are yet still. Guys, we're not totally clear if this is Earth. We go elsewhere. This woman here is Cascade's mother. This is Cascade. It's her mother. She kills a guy because the amulet got away and they couldn't track it. And it's out in the open. We also have elsewhere that could be Earth, because we are these like twin towers. We don't know. But she kills him when she flies off. And then they show up to Welcome to Crossroads. Look at the 0 captions on this page. Guys, this is Chris Claremont. He's considered the greatest comic book writer of all time. Not anymore on this channel. But we get this page. Useless page, useless page. People want to go after Image Comics at this point. How do you not attack this book along with everything else? This book, in my view, is the problem with 90s comics. Nothing I've seen from Image Comics so far. Now, keep in mind, DC Comics, they've been in business like 100 years before this point. Right? 100, not 100, maybe like 60, 50 years. DC should catch this. When we deal with these guys running into problems, and you can see when we flip through Wildcats, I don't know, the story flows pretty good, guys. We get a lot of captions, a lot of word balloons, a lot of value, a lot of panels, a lot of fun. Everyone here, they're doing it for like a new company for the first time. They're learning a lot. This is insanity. So they end up in like a manor, and you know, they kind of get into this bar, and we find out that this woman here, she's like a little bit of a helper. This guy here, he's eating because he's trying to be funny, and then out of nowhere, guys, look at these panels. Out of nowhere, we get this spiky chain whip right here. Kinda, I do like the silhouette. But then we're the Fatal Furies, the FFs are right here. And, you know, they come from Apocalypse. And we get Rampart here. I remember his name. And then, like, he gets stabbed and possessed. But then we get, like, another fight. And we have fight number 2 now. And we're still not clear on the powers of the Sovereign Seven. We don't even know why they're called Sovereign Seven. So anyway, we get a fight, we get a fight. This is like a blade here. That's like a mystical, like, death dagger. But Cascade gets stabbed with it, and you can see it, like, shatters. You can only die. Fight. Rampart is now part of the Apocalypse crew. And then out of nowhere, we get this guy that shows up. That literally looks like he's out of a Jack Kirby panel. And he is, oh geez, I even forget what this guy's name is. Maybe it's Mr. Begone, but he's like apologetic. He sends the Furies away. And they kind of, you know, come to terms. Right? They come to terms, and then we end this issue. So, look guys, we're 30 pages in. This entire issue, the whole point of this whole issue is to maybe put the amulet in play. The team gets together with a broom to clean up their mess. Mess here. Mess. Gotta clean that up. And then, like, the mother comes looking for maybe her daughter, and we're not really sure why. This is... I just don't want to come down too heavy, because we do respect the work of a lot of the people that we review here. This book is maybe the most disappointing book I've read in a long time, because I waited a long time to read this. I was so happy. I forgot I had issue 1 in one of my boxes. So when we kind of, you know, for Top Cow Tuesday and Wildstorm Wednesday, I was happy to find this, because I kind of had a breakdown when I read these. because this Cyber Force 9, 9, 10, 11 read just like Sovereign 7. It reads just like it. The Huntsman character is not explained in any, like, so Chris Claremont wastes effectively 7 issues, I'm sorry, 7 issues. 7 issues, 7 months worth of issues, and we know nothing about this character. I am not exaggerating. But I was happy because I wanted, again, like, let's prove me wrong. None of that is here, guys. None of it. This is a bad experience. Issue 1 does not make me want to read issue 2. I think of the time, the $2 price tag, and the fantastic coloring, the up-and-coming illustration of Dwayne Turner. You know, like, you get some value here. We run a 32-page story with no ads, by the way. No ads. I mean, DC Comics making a huge investment in this guy. And they, if I was in the DC offices during this, I would have hit the roof. Runs for about 3 years. And I'm not, I don't care. I don't know what happens to Sovereign 7 after these 3 years. I really don't think it's inconsequential. So, guys, yeah, tracking Chris Claremont. We're not ending on Chris Claremont, because coming up we have Aliens Predator. What's up, AKAPADers? We're not done talking about Chris Claremont. During our weekly show, Wildstorm Wednesday, my head spun, because I had to read Chris Claremont collaborating with Mark Silvestri's Cyber Force with his character Huntsman, and also bringing that Huntsman's character into Wildcats for Jim Lee's Wildstorm Productions. So we have 2 of the biggest team books of the time, Cyber Force and Wildcats, and they're sharing the same crossover character, Huntsman. This Huntsman crossover, and keep in mind, the two books are not linked. Okay, Huntsman just appears in both, and they're all within a few months of each other. But during the time back in the day, you know, this was hyped, this was advertised. If you were reading Wildcats, they were building into this. So I read these Cyber Force issues, and I'm like, how did Chris Claremont plot this? Like, how's he even involved with this story? Because it's so confusing, and you guys can go check out that video. So for Wildstorm Wednesday, because I like pairing the 2 of them together during this time, during the early years, I get a similar experience where you see, like, the weight of Wildstorm Productions is carrying what Chris Claremont is potentially pitching to them, or somehow it's showing up in the fax machine, and there's a paragraph, and it's like, hey, we have to run with this. Clock's ticking. We all know the circumstances around some of those issues, so there's a gravitas, but there's still things missing. We even now, we don't know anything about this Huntsman's character. So during the video, I just proclamated, you know, like, I made this declaration that Chris Claremont cannot write, and I know a lot of you pushed back on that. When we look at his career, outside of Uncanny X-Men, he wrote that book for 20 years. My contention is that Uncanny X-Men had superstar characters, like fantastic characters. The timing of the book was perfect, and some of the most amazing artists, one of the top artists, some of the best artists in comic book history, did long runs on that book with him, and I believe they carried a chunk of the weight. Because when we take the Uncanny X-Men out of Chris Claremont, we get so and so commercial fiction, commercial science fiction, fantasy, and sci-fi novels. It seems like when he left X-Men, he was convinced he could make it as a novelist. He wrote roughly 5 books, and maybe 6. Then he gets back into comics. So he gets back with Aliens vs. Predator, or Aliens, Predator, Deadliest of Species. No one, right, this isn't one of the seminal books in the Dark Horse Aliens or Predator series. I mean, like for the amount of time that Dark Horse has had on Aliens and Predator, being a rights holder, Deadliest of Species doesn't come up. It doesn't register. Okay, right? 12 issue miniseries. They gave him 12 issues for that. Some amazing covers, though, by the way. And then we get to today's book, Sovereign Seven. Reigned for 3 years. He's got the illustration power of Dwayne Turner. He's got a DC integrated team, meaning he's eventually going to access the entire DC catalog. They're going to cross over with Batman, Superman, the list goes on. But Sovereign 7 starts as its own book, its own entity, and DC Universe slowly gets folded in. That's the right approach. But he gets Dwayne Turner. Dwayne Turner, later, some really top level work from McFarlane and Spawn. But we get someone that just illustrates, and he's young and he's hungry. Again, good choice, good combination. Is Dwayne Turner a little bit green in this book? I would say yes. But you want him to keep going. You want him to keep drawing. You want him to become something. Because the idea of what Sovereign 7 is going to become is a 20-year-long book. Technically, he would still be writing Sovereign 7 today. And we get a confusing mess. We get a book that you would not show off to someone. You would not give this to someone and say, you might like this. Hey, if you want to get into comics, check this out. I know you'll like it. You get none of that. We read issue 1, we don't want to read issue 2. It's a one and done type of book. Meaning whatever issue you end up with, you're happy. You're happy just with that one issue and you're moving on. You're not hitting the back issue binge. You're not looking things up on Amazon and eBay. You just want to move on with your life. Chris Claremont's next 2 big contributions. 3-year run, Fantastic Four, so-so. 3-year run on Extreme X-Men, and that's what I consider to be his best post-X-Men work. Now, a lot of times the question is, what has Chris Claremont written that's of significance that's not X-Men related? Extreme X-Men and his leaving of Uncanny X-Men and the Adjectiveless X-Men, the best-selling comic book of all time, there's enough time to elapse. The industry had changed. Marvel's editorial direction for X-Men had changed. The X-Men front office was moving in a different direction with the franchise. Extreme X-Men brings back a lot of that Uncanny X-Men, like a lot of those notes, if you will. And we get some amazing artwork by Salvador Larroca. So, what are the expectations of Sovereign 7? Well, you're still coming, even though a couple years went by, you're still coming off of the highest selling comic book of all time. A lot of people say, 8.1 million copies, right? More likely, probably 2 million of those books ended up in customers' hands, by the way. The rest, endless long boxes in some poor comic shops. Sovereign 7 had the highest level of expectation. For you to kind of say at that point that, this and that, right? Like, you want to make these excuses. But when you read the book, there's nothing there. It's frustrating. We don't know who the characters are. We don't tag the characters. We're unfamiliar with some of their powers, abilities. The plot for issue 1, right, like the most significant issue of Sovereign 7, we can argue, is issue 1. All of these things, all these elements that makes us a comic book reader, that hits that dopamine, that gets us addicted to the book and to continuity and to its connection to DC Universe, right? None of it's there. And then we're exposing Chris Claremont when we criticize this issue, because I'm the only one that champions Extreme X-Men, keep in mind. I feel like I'm the only one that understands enough about Fantastic Four to know that the only collaboration of that era until we hit the Hickman era is Mark Waid, Mike, or Ringo. Like that's maybe the third or fourth greatest Fantastic Four run. His Fantastic Four run again doesn't quite register. Could it be top 10? Maybe. So I don't want to, like if when we hit the drawing table, keep in mind that I'm bringing a lot of perspective into my analysis and my walkthrough. But in no way, while I was reading this book, was I engaged, was I pulled in. We're merely going to hit the drawing table for me to show it off, so we can move on with our lives, as I said earlier. But this does not end. We will continue to study Chris Claremont because I do feel like it's bad business, it's bad information, it's fake news when we speak of Chris Claremont as some type of great writer.